Luke chapter 15. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near to listen to him. And the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. "Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one of them, does not have the 99 and leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it? When he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep that was lost.' Just so, I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who need no repentance. Or what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one of them, does not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? When she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, 'Rejoice with me, for I have found the coin that I lost.' Just so, I tell you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents." Then Jesus said, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of property that will belong to me.' So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in desolate living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare, but here I am living of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of the hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion, and he ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be your son.' But the father said to his slaves, 'Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now his elder son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked what was going on. He replied, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he got back safe and sound.' Then he became angry and refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, 'Listen, for all these years I have been working like a slave for you, and I have never disobeyed your command. Yet you have never given me a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him.' Then the father said to him, 'Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found.'"
In reflection about this beautiful passage, of course, one of my favorites, for me, what is the most amazing part is that we discover what is our worth in the eyes of God. Of course, throughout much of Luke, we see this kind of, conflict between those that are pure, those that aren't. We see a conflict between those that are deemed worthy and those that are not. We see the conflict that is Jesus going out and talking and being with those that are not supposed to be able to get into heaven. Our concept that we see that is repeated with the shepherd, with the widow that does not have, that has lost a coin, or the father with the 2 sons, is the value that comes out of having someone that is valued. Where is your value at today? Mine today, of course, comes just before our Christmas celebrations and the hecticness that is the time of year. I, of course, am then looking at where does my value then come from? Something I have wondered so many times in my life, both in times of great joy, great grief, great depression. Of course, we have traveled throughout this life of ours learning what value is coming upon each life. Jesus, of course, we then see the person that is valued is the one that comes and repents, the one that is lost. The shepherd and the widow go looking for the lost, and when they are found, they do not just stash it away, they do not hide it. Instead, it is a grand celebration of calling friends, calling neighbors, and having a party simply for one lamb or one piece of silver. To us, of course, we might think about it strangely, this idea of, it might make sense to a farmer a little bit, but if you lose, for example, a penny, $1, something like that, oftentimes, we don't even notice that we have lost it. But this is where Jesus is taking this radical shift and saying that we follow a God that knows everyone. In this knowledge, then, we get this beautiful moment where every time that we come back, every time that we are found, there's a celebration. And of course, we then get this shift. It goes from the wonders of the found to the understanding of those that may be in a better place. Their value is not lost, much like the brother that was not lost and stayed with the father. His value was still there. But it is in the recovery of a child, it is in the recovery of the brother, it is in the recovery of every Christian, every person that follows God. That is worth the highest celebration. We recognize it in our celebration of baptism. We recognize it in every time that we renew our baptismal vows that we ourselves are valued. God exists with us and sees our value even in times that we may not be able to see our value. This value extends beyond the monetary value of those that may be pure, that those that may have wealth, that those that give the most money to charity, to community, to parish, to God. Instead, it dwindles down to the fact of one thing, that we all are children of God. The two brothers came from the same father. The pieces of silver came from the same woman. The lambs and the sheep came from the same shepherd. We are all part of the same flock, of the same pieces of silver. We are all part of the same family, that we look to the same God. We may have understandings that different people worship in different ways, that different people follow different gods. But the first step to our understanding and our humility comes with the understanding that we all come from the same Father, Shepherd, and Widower. This, of course, then sparks massive feelings that well up inside of me, and the biggest one is, I am valued. No more or no less than the person beside me and the person in front of me, no more than the priest and the presiding bishop, no more than the homeless person or the street worker, no more than anybody else. As somebody that has had the opportunity of many privileges, that does not mean that I have any more or less value. In the eyes of God, our value does not stem from an earthly thing, it stems from the Almighty. This is what Jesus has, of course, been ramping up and trying to get the Pharisees, trying to get those that are around him who question everything to understand that it is not an earthly value, for it is the value of human life that is the most powerful. And so then I bring this to you. Where do you find your value with God? Do you yourself see that you have value? And if so, what does that look like? Does it only extend to this earthly place, this plane of existence that we all are finding our way through, bumping in the darkness? Or is that value deeper than anything you could ever have imagined? The simple fact that you come from the same shepherd, you come from the same widower, that you come from the same Father as everyone else. You are not loved more or less, but instead your value means something beyond the earthly meaning of value. And I pray that as you meditate on this, that you find something new about yourself and your relationship with the Holy. Thank you.